The question comes up quite often about leadership in America and who the outstanding leaders have really been. And I would say at the outset there are any number of really outstanding leaders over time. We've been very blessed as a nation with our leadership, I believe. But when it gets right down to it, if I have to name some names, there are only two that I would pick out. One would be Abraham Lincoln, and the other would be George Washington. And then when you're talking about the top here, I think I'd have to go with George Washington because he is the precedent setter. He is the person that put so many different things in place that really made the American Republic work. And that's what makes him so critical a leader. And I'd like to just maybe highlight a few of those points. First of all, Washington handled a lot of power in his lifetime. But he was never really corrupted by power, and that is amazing because if you look at world leaders, if you look at the Stalins, the Hitlers, the Zedongs, the Napoleons, they were corrupted. But Washington walked away from power on more than one occasion. That's a very, very critical gift. There were moments in time and when he could have taken it all. Right at the end of the Revolutionary War, for instance, the country is frankly really in very bad shape. It is financially broke. There's chaos across the land. And people are offering Washington up. Why don't you just become George I? And he says, that's not right. That's not why we fought. And the key there is to understand that not only is it a matter of power, but one of the reasons he's able to control himself is he understands what the cause is about. And that, to me, is a very, very critical gift on the part of any leader. Washington took on a mission in 1775 as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. He took it on with complete humility. He said to the Continental Congress he wasn't sure whether he was worthy of the task, and maybe he himself even doubted whether he was worthy. But I can also tell you, whether he was worthy or not, he believed in the cause, and that's what I think helped make him worthy as a leader. And he did everything he could. I wonder whether anybody could have put up with all of the problems that he had to deal with over an 8-year period to keep an army in the field against one of the most powerful of all military forces in the world. It was amazing indeed. So there you have no corruption by power, a sense of mission, a sense of purpose. Another thing Washington was a master of was surrounding himself with talent. And I can tell you that in and of itself is a real sign of confident leadership. Not being afraid, not wanting a bunch of yes people saying okay yeah to this and okay to that, but rather Washington had the capacity to listen, and that's critically important from my point of view. So he'd have a council of war. He'd listen to his generals. Sometimes he'd agree with them. Other times he'd disagree with them. There were real splits, for instance, in the situation about whether to recross the Delaware River and to try to take Trenton at the end of 1776. Some of the officers did not support him, but this is another characteristic of a good leader. He understands sometimes you have to take good, calculated risks, and that was a great calculated risk that turned the cause around at a point when it was really being battered and beaten by British forces. So there's a matter of talent that I would credit him with. And these are just some of the many, many qualities that I think made George Washington one of the greatest leaders, not only in our history, perhaps the greatest in our history, but one of the greatest of all time in world history.